So my name is Susan Sheldon. I work with the Thurston Conservation District. I'm the Finance and Administration Manager there at the Thurston Conservation District. I am here all by myself, which is not nice because I was hoping to Yen, who was our Smartsheet guru, lead this presentation with me, but she injured her knee and is just not doing so well. She's in a lot of pain. So she is not going to be able to join us even remotely, unfortunately. So it's okay because we designed the presentation together. I'm actually not planning to teach, or we weren't planning to teach Smartsheet to you today anyway. So how to design a form, how to set up a database. So that's not the plan for today. I hope that's not disappointing for people. We're planning to do, it's kind of like a three-pronged thing that's going on. One is we're planning to talk about the elements that go into a Smartsheet workflow. And so we'll go through all those elements. We're also planning to talk to you about our project phases that we go through when we do any Smartsheet project. So how we work through a Smartsheet project, and then also the workflow, and the elements of a workflow. And then the other thing that we are going to talk about is our example, which is a personal action workflow that we've developed for Thurston Conservation District. So we'll go through that example so you can see what we're talking about. So first of all, I just wanted to find out how many of you are already using Smartsheets at your districts? Yeah, isn't that exciting? So I was just talking to Glenn that it might be cool for us to get together and have some sort of Smartsheet support group or something where we share ideas, because we get our best ideas from other conservation districts. So I think it might be a good idea at some point for us to talk about doing that. And then how many of you are using the Smartsheet workflow feature? Okay, good. So I'm hoping that this conversation, it can be a conversation, not just me talking at you. So if you have any ideas, if I'm saying something that doesn't fit with what you are doing, please feel to speak up. If you have any questions, don't worry about interrupting me, just feel free to interrupt me. So we can have this be more of a conversation more than a lecture. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of our personnel action workflow. This is just one aspect of a bigger workflow. So I'm just going to be showing you one aspect of that workflow. Let's see, what else do I want to say here? Yeah, I just miss Jan. So it would have been nice to have her here. Also, the admin team just participated in a conversation about lean. And we didn't plan this, but I'm going to show you an example of process mapping. And I'm going to show you an example of how we do a lot of the things she talked about when we do our Smartsheet projects. Okay, so all right, so we follow project phases when we do a Smartsheet project. These project phases might look familiar to some of you. They're used in many different applications. So they're used in IT when you're developing IT applications. They're also used in construction. So when you're building a building construction, use these project phases. You also do them when you're implementing BMPs. Like you may not explicitly follow these steps. And we don't always explicitly follow these steps, but we do check in and say, oh, do we need to follow this step in this project? So the first part of the project is to define the problem and the scope. So again, I'm going to refer back to Lean. She did the same thing. The first thing is to sit down and figure out, what are we trying to solve and how big are we trying to solve it? The next step is to look at what are the requirements. So what do you need to be able to solve that problem? The third step is then to design a solution for what you need. The fourth step is to build it. So in the context of Smartsheet, it's actually creating the Smartsheet, creating the forms, and you'll see also creating updates and reminders and workflow, So that's actually the build. Then there's test. So we'll talk a little bit about how we test our Smartsheet workflows. And then there's communicate and train. So we train staff and communicate to staff about a new Smartsheet that's being implemented. And then we do implementation, we roll it out, we launch it. So these are the project phases that we go through, or we at least go through and say, do we need to do this step for this project? So yeah, so those are the, let's see. She also mentioned at the lean, sorry to refer back for some of you that weren't at this lean presentation, but she talked about plan, do, check, and adjust. Okay, so plan is plan the scope and the requirements and the design. Do is build, check is test, and then we're always going back up and redesigning. Through the testing, we find bugs, we find things that could be improved, processes that could be improved through the testing. So we're always kind of like circling back through these phases. All right, so the example that I'm going to talk to you about is a personnel action workflow. And a couple of years ago, when we are choosing what needs a Smartsheet, usually we base it on the most hurtful pinch point. So whatever's going on in the moment at the district, and we're finance and administration, so we're looking from the administration side, but where we're struggling the most, where things are breaking down, things aren't getting done fast enough, people are forgetting to do something. So we'll look at those processes where we're hurting the most. And a few years ago, so I guess it was 2021, where we decided that personal action, we were really struggling with our annual reviews. So each year, an employee's anniversary, they meet with our executive director, Sarah Moorhead, and they have their annual review. And then based on that annual review, they may or may not get a step increase. Well, the annual reviews weren't happening on time. When I started at the district, there were in 2018, there were 7 employees. And by the time we started this workflow, we realized that we were having this issue. We had moved from 7 employees to 17 employees. And then now we're at 20 employees. So in 5 years, we've gone from 7 to 20 employees. We have one executive director who does all those annual reviews. So you can hear the pinch point, right? That's more than and our annual reviews were 2 hours. The meetings were 2 hours, the performance review. So our executive director was doing 2-hour meetings to review the performance of each employee. And that's more for now at 20 employees. So you can see the pinch point there. And what was happening is the annual reviews weren't happening. They were happening late, which meant we would have to do back pay for that employee if the annual review happened late. The auditors hate back pay. So that was a pinch point for me. It was a pinch point for Sarah. So let's see, is there anything else there? The other thing is we were doing self-evaluations. I don't know if you all, are you writing up your self-evaluations and then you're sending that to the person who does the review, and then you're going off of your own self-evaluation to do the annual review. Is that about what works for other people too? We had our self-evaluation form. You should just go to the so let me just talk about the requirements. So the requirements were that the process had to happen on time. It had to move through a certain process step by step. And by the way, step-by-step processes are the best candidates for a Smartsheet workflow. So, and then when we were looking at the other kinds of requirements, we looked at our current process. And the 2 things that we were doing with our current process, one was this self-evaluation form, and the other thing was a personal action form. So another place to get your requirements are, what are you doing now? How are you doing it now? So you pull your requirements from that. I just want to do a check-in. Is what I'm saying making sense so far? Okay, good. All right, so now we moved from defining problem and scope to requirements. And now let me look at the next slide. Let's look at this self-evaluation form. So the self-evaluation form used to be 3 pages long. These are just the instructions. So this doesn't even include filling out the form. So people were having to read these instructions every year. They only do it once a year, right? So they don't remember. They're having to read these instructions every year. And then if we look at the next slide, this is the 3rd page. And there are 4 questions, and they're all free-form questions. People were submitting 1-page self-evaluations all the way to 8 to 10 pages with self-evaluations. So Sarah is reading 17 of these at the time, and some of them are 8 to 10 pages. So she came to me and I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. Let's figure out something else. So, the other thing that we started, the other requirement was the personnel action form. So this was our personal action form. This form actually it's similar what we finally ended up designing in Smartsheet. It looks a lot like this form. It's a little bit more condensed, but it's all automatic. So, all right. What we do when we're working on a workflow is we actually diagram the process. This happens to be a diagram at the end of the process. So this is the way it looks now with the Smartsheet workflow, but we'll start with what we'll diagram. What is the current process? And it used to be, the current process used to be, somebody remembers that somebody's anniversary passed a couple of months ago. Someone contacts that person and said, your anniversary happened 2 months ago. You haven't gotten your step increase. They scramble around to try and find the self-evaluation that you saw. They find it, they fill it out, 1 to 10 pages. They email it to Sarah. They try and figure out a time to meet. And then they meet, they let me know by that previous personal action form whether that person got a step increase, and then I changed payroll and had to do back pay. So that used to be the process. So what we decided to do is change that process. And so the process now starts with 4 weeks before the anniversary date. The staff member gets a reminder. Your anniversary is coming up. Congratulations, you've been with us for another year. You need to start getting prepared for your annual review. So 4 weeks before the anniversary date. And then what you're going to need to do is download the new questionnaire, and I'll show you the new questionnaire, which is in Word. You're going to download the new questionnaire. You need to complete that questionnaire, and you need to schedule a meeting between yourself, the team lead, and Sarah. And you've got 2 weeks to do that, because in 2 weeks, you're going to get another reminder. You're going to get an update request. So after they get that reminder, they do those things. They complete the self-evaluation questionnaire form, and they schedule their annual meeting. And then 2 weeks later, they get this update request. This request says, your annual review is coming up. Please upload your self-evaluation form and enter the date of your annual review meeting. So, and this all happens automatically. I mean, they don't do this automatically, obviously. They've got to complete the external document in Word, but they get this update where they then they upload their self-evaluation. Then 3 days before their anniversary date, did they upload their self-evaluation form? No. Smartsheet automatically sends them a reminder. I'm sorry, it goes up to here. So 1 week before the anniversary date, did the staff member submit their self-evaluation form? No. Smartsheet automatically sends them a reminder. So Smartsheet knows that they didn't upload their form, so it automatically sends them a reminder. 3 days before the anniversary date, did they submit their form? And if no, Yen actually contacts them personally. So the accountant contacts them personally and says, where's your form? You've gotten all these reminders, where's your form? So even these are our safeguards against people not submitting their form before their anniversary date. If they have, then they upload their completed self-evaluation questionnaire, and then the team lead and the ED get a notification that the questionnaire has been uploaded, so that they can now read that their evaluation, self-evaluation. So all of this is happening automatically. The Smartsheet is actually doing this workflow. You can program Smartsheet to do these steps automatically. Then there's an external activity where they actually meet. And then once they meet, it goes to the next process. So the next sub process, if we could do that next slide. So after the 2 days after the annual review date that was entered, remember earlier, they entered the date that they had scheduled their anniversary, their annual review. The executive director gets a reminder that they need to complete the personnel action form. So, and with the personnel action form, it's which the form is also in Smartsheet. So the ED completes and submits the form. And then the Smartsheet automatically creates a completed personnel action form. Now at this point, we could have sent this personal action form. It needs to be approved by people. The executive director needs to have their signature. Executive director, the employee themselves, confirmation that yes, that's what I was expecting, that I was or was not going to get a step increase. And then the person who does payroll. So those 3 people need to know that the personal action form has been completed. And what we do is we have people sign it. Now, we could have just sent approvals, and we'll talk more about this. I'll get into more detail about these forms and update reminders and updates. We could have just gotten people to approve it. Smartsheet will let, if you send a reminder, please approve this, and then they click an approve button and it automatically does that. But we figured that the auditors would want to see actual, at least electronic signatures from those 3 people, ED, the staff member, and the payroll person. So we actually stepped out of Smartsheet to do DocuSign. You can pay extra money to have Smartsheet automatically process the DocuSign for you, and we haven't done that at this point. So there are a couple of options to have it be automatic, but we decided to step out of the automation. So what happens is the Smartsheet admin gets a reminder that the document has been created, the personal action form has been created, and then they set up the DocuSign. And then they send out the DocuSign out to the ED, the employee, and to the accountants. And then because we stepped out, we have to get back into the workflow. So the Smartsheet admin, once the DocuSign is signed, goes in to say that the workflow has been completed, the workflow is complete. And then once it's complete, let me just see this. I get, Smartsheet sends me a reminder, send us all reminders to process the personnel action, to process a step increase, basically, to file the documents, to update payroll, to process the personnel action. So far, so good? Okay. All right, so now let's talk some of the elements that go into this process, the Smartsheet elements. I'm hoping that so this is obviously an admin application of Smartsheet workflow. There are other applications of Smartsheet workflows, so I'm hoping from this presentation, you're able to see where you might be able to use Smartsheet workflows for your applications. We're using it a lot for administrative applications, but I'm hoping you'll be able to see other applications too. So this is where Yen was supposed to take over the presentation, so please be patient with me. So there are a number of different types of elements that go into a workflow or Smartsheet automation. In our case, there's definitely external documents. So this is the Word document. The self-evaluation is a Word document. There are reminders. So these are emails that are based on some schedule that are sent automatically through Smartsheet to the right person. Then there's also notifications. This person did this. This person completed their self-evaluation form, and here's a copy of it. So those are notifications. Then there's update requests. And I'm going to show you examples and the examples for this workflow. Forms, I'm sure all of you are familiar with forms, and document generation, and then approval requests. So these are all the different elements that can go into a Smartsheet workflow. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So this is actually the source Smartsheet. So it's all based on that basic Smartsheet, Excel looking, Access database looking document file. So this is, and I'm not actually going to go through all of these columns, but you start with the basic sheet, Smartsheet. And it's in this Smartsheet that the automation is programmed. Okay, so if you look at the next slide. So 4 weeks before the anniversary date, the staff member gets a reminder, and this is the reminder email. And like I said, it gives them information about their current position.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Okay. It says, you know, your anniversary date is almost here. Your annual review must be completed by this day. Here's the questionnaire, download the questionnaire. Schedule a meeting with you each do the schedule a meeting with yourself, the team lead and the executive director. And in 2 weeks, you're going to receive another email where you can upload. So it tells them what's going to happen. Here's a link to the salary table, so that we give them access to the salary table so that they can see where they are in the salary table. We give them a link to the self-evaluation questionnaire in the email. And then we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. Automatically happens based on their anniversary date, minus 4 weeks. Okay. This is the self-evaluation questionnaire. So this is an example of an external document. Remember the 3-page document, 2 pages were instructions, and the rest of it was free form. So this was done outside of Smartsheet, but we did design a new self-evaluation questionnaire where we limited the number of characters that people could enter. We asked specific questions. Please describe the 1 to 3 accomplishments over the past year of which you are most proud. So Sarah did a lot of help for us to design this new questionnaire that makes it easy to read, easy to complete, and easy for Sarah to digest the information and prepare for the annual review. So this one is actually 4 pages. There's another page, but it's different. Score yourself on how well you feel supported by the district, and then give details about how you feel you're being supported by the district. So there's specific questions instead of that free-form questionnaire. Yes, Glenn.
What about the introduction page? Did you get rid of those too, or they?
Yeah, it's so self-explanatory. We didn't have to do the introduction page. So each question, explains itself. So I think staff are doing okay with this new questionnaire. It seems like people are able to complete it. It's much more easy for people to complete. Yes.
Well, why not do it in Smartsheet like this one?
That is a great question, because we couldn't we? And it might just be, I don't know. So yes, I don't know. One of the things to mention is that we'll often launch a workflow with things that we could improve later, just to get it out there, just to to alleviate that pinch point that we're struggling with. So, but I think you're right. I think this could be a Smartsheet form. And then we wouldn't have to do the external document. Can.
I think it is a smart sheet, isn't it?
Did you know, I
think it might be.
okay, if you think Jen set it up in, okay, all right, so it might be, it should be. So, okay, great. So then this is 2 weeks before the anniversary date, the employee gets another email. And this is where it's a reminder. And this is a reminder saying that you're about to prepare for your annual review. We need these 2 things from you. And then you're gonna open this request, and then that opens a form. So an update includes both a reminder and a form. And what they're doing is they're updating that row in that original Smartsheet. So that's an update request. And then a notification. So this is a notification for the team lead and the executive director. They get notified that this is the scheduled annual review date. This is their current salary. This is their current staff and range. And here's their completed questionnaire. So it includes a link to their completed questionnaire. This is all happening automatically through Smartsheet. It's programmed in the workflow. So then 2 days before the annual review date, the ED, I'm sorry. So now the annual review happens, they look at the questionnaire together, self-evaluation questionnaire, the annual review happens. And then 2 days after the annual review meeting, the ED gets a reminder that you need to complete the personnel action form. And here it is. So it includes a link to the personnel action form. So the ED can just click on that link and then open up the personnel action form, which is in Smartsheet. This one is in Smartsheet, I know. So this is the personnel action form. And it's got the effective date. It was an annual step increase, some information about the employee, the new salary step and range. And then the ED actually filled out a little bit of that self-evaluation at the end. They create their own notes, that self-evaluation form. So this is a way for them to upload their remarks. And then, okay, so this must be another sheet. I'm sorry that Jen's not here to explain this sheet, but that holds all of that information. Oh, this is the personal action sheet. So that personal action form, this is the sheet for that personal action form. That gets automatically populated from that form. And then the document generation. So the Smartsheet will create a completed personal action form. And then these are the places where people can sign. Now, what we could have done, and I'll show you this in a minute, but we could have sent a reminder to the executive director that says, do you approve this? And they could just click it and say, yes, I approve this. And then send it to the employee, do you approve this? And they could click it and say, yes, I approve it. Then send it to me, do you confirm that you got this? And I can click it. But we don't do that. So I'll show that. We actually generate a document, a personal action form document, and it's completed. Okay, next slide. And then what happens is the Smartsheet admin gets a notification to send out the DocuSign. So this is the notification that goes to the Smartsheet admin saying, all right, now set up the DocuSign document so that people can approve the personal action form. This is approval requests that doesn't include DocuSign. So this is an approval request for vacation. We do use approval requests, but this is like I said earlier, we feel like we need to use DocuSign for the personal action forms. So this is where people can enter their information about taking vacation time, their start and end date for vacation. They press submit, and then this notification goes to the executive director, who then can decline or approve. So this is automatic approvals. And then I get, or the accountant gets a reminder, the personal action form is now being signed through DocuSign. The accountant gets the reminder to do a, please calculate and submit the staff's new comp rates. Please update the staff's current salary and leave accrual. Please update the comp rate on the monthly salary allocation sheet. So this tells the accountant, this has happened and this is what you need to do. These are all the things, a reminder of all the things you need to do when someone has a salary increase. So that was all the design of designing the steps for the workflow. And then what we'll do is we'll test the workflow. Mostly what we're testing is they're testing the forms, that the forms make sense. We're looking for typos. We're testing that the workflow actually works based on the calculations, the way it's supposed to work. We're looking at the reminder notification emails that go out and editing those and making sure that those are clear and provide clear instructions. So for this example, the testing was to look at the forms and the reminders and the notifications. And we'll do that testing just internally within our department. And a lot of changes happen in this phase. We have found that when we're doing workflows, it's easier to get something started. Like, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but when you're designing a form in Smartsheet, you design something and then you look how to improve it, and how you look to fix it, what needs to be corrected. So we'll make a ton of changes after testing. We'll go right back to design and we might even redesign the diagram process map. So that's testing, and then we'll do training. So we'll develop training materials. A lot of the times we do our trainings during staff meetings. This one was actually pretty self-explanatory, so we just had to let people know what was happening. On 4 weeks before your anniversary date, you're going to get an email, and it'll tell you exactly what to do. So we just had to describe the process a little bit to them. There wasn't that much training, but we're about to do an inventory smart sheet where people are going to be inventorying their assets that have been assigned to them. And we're going to use the barcode feature. So they'll take pictures of the barcode and also take pictures of the assets. So furniture, computer equipment. And that'll be a more in-depth training that we're going to do during a staff meeting where we'll train people how to track their assets. And then, yeah, so how we communicate or train might be big or it might be small. And this one was actually pretty small because the process itself is pretty self-explanatory. With the inventory one where it says distribute necessary supplies, we have to get barcodes to all the staff so they can stick it on their monitors and their laptop. So training and then implementation. Again, this one was really, this implementation was simple. We just launched it with the next person whose annual review was coming up. But sometimes you need to phase it. Your launches, like for example, where this is outside of Smartsheet, but we're implementing LastPass, which is a password protection software for all our staff. And we're having to do that in phases. Certain teams go first and then the next team and then the next team. So sometimes when you're doing implementation, you have to do a more complicated launch. Also, what we have found is that, again, we start simple. We'll do a simple improvement. We'll design the workflow. We'll get it started. We'll launch it. We tell people, be patient with us. There might still be bugs in it. Let us know if you see anything that doesn't make sense. And then we'll improve it. Then we'll go back and we'll turn the person, the self-evaluation into a Smartsheet form, or we'll continue to improve it even after launch. I think that's what I've got. Does anybody have any questions? I'd love to hear. I don't know how much time we have.
Really about
We've got plenty of
Yeah,
time to
15
talk
minutes.
about other people's workflows that you're doing, other people's smart sheets that you're doing, and also any more questions. I'm sorry.
How is the process set up, working?
It's
Within
working
the-
great, and it's working really great, it just happens. You'll see though, that we had to add some reminders, so staff get 4 weeks before their anniversary date, do this, and it's not happening, so a week before their anniversary, do this, and not happening, and then yet has to be phone calls.
Yeah.
So, you know, you still are dealing with the workflow and then the call, you know, yeah.
In our credit card and other process, we may want to have a bonus for done.
I've had a lot of reminders.
Reminders, so you're using, are other people also using reminders a lot? Are other people using reminders? So everybody's using forms, right? Forms, you're all feeling good on, they're awesome, they're easy to create. And then reminders, if something triggers that a reminder needs to go out to a staff person. What about notifications? Are people using notifications? Something triggers. Get an email and you're asking for an update, or no, you're just letting them know something's happened. Are there people using notifications?
If a date is reached without a checkbox being checked, I send a reminder a week, couple of days,
Yeah.
that day,
Yeah,
and it's all automated.
it happens on that, you don't have to do the email yourself.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, so we also use reminders a lot, but something like a challenge we have is people get like fatigued from all the.
sure, yeah,
Yeah,
Or like sometimes like stop reading them,
yes.
and so you or anybody here have tips on like how to kind of get around that, or?
I think you have to be smart with using them.
Yeah.
We have the same exact thing happening, and so we've started pulling back on some of those reminders. You have to use them diligently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right, their inbox gets inundated with them.
Make the subject of that reminder, the reminder itself, so they don't actually have to open it, they can see it in the subject.
That's
And
smart.
That helps out a little bit, and then cracking down, having your team leads and your ED cracking down on the people that aren't reading them. Because that's part of their job, and that's.
Yeah.
every day
Yeah,
comes with notification.
yeah. Fine.
Have you had issues with notifications or any?
Sorry, I'm going to spam. I don't think we have had that. Has anybody else had
yeah,
notifications or emails going into spam?
If it goes to a lot of different emails, it will go to spam, but you have to train, like Google, if you're using Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, you can train that. If it says Smartsheet on it, don't let it go. And it does take a while, especially if you just fire up your Microsoft 365 tenant, it'll take a while for it not to go to spam. You just have to train it and always check your junk folders.
Are you sending reminders or notifications to multiple people at once?
Well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, what else? What workflow are you guys doing?
Well,
Miranda?
but we've been using fuels reduction dashboard to help us with our chipping projects. So we have landowners fill out a form. Once they fill out the form, we get a notification, the form's been filled out.
I'm sorry,
Don,
I can't.
But we get a notification, the form's been filled out by the landowner, we check to make sure they're eligible for chipping. And then we check a box and it generates a form that we download as an Adobe sign to send to them.
Fantastic.
To sign it, and then we just kind of have automated reminders as to when the agreement's been signed and returned, when we can put them on a shipping schedule, when the project's been complete, or if they need an assessment. So that's how we've been using it.
So and you were able to do Adobe Sign, you were able to include that into the workflow? Yeah, do that
You
manually.
attach the Adobe document and then everything from the form then auto-populated into that Adobe document.
Document
But yeah, we had
generation.
to download it because we don't have DocuSign.
Yeah, Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you can connect DocuSign with Smartsheet, but it's expensive. So that it would automatically send that out. So are other people doing document generation? Oh,
I have other work.
I would love to hear it.
So a couple of them is grant applications. So you start with grants and puts it in, and all the steps in there are, send it out to be signed, and did it go to the ED, did it go to the team leads, did it get reviewed, and all those are check boxes. And you can actually set it up, so every check, when it gets checked, there's actually a date that gets done, so you can use that date as another reminder. And that grant application process, we're trying to smooth it out so it doesn't get lost in all those grants, especially when you get into 20 people and you got 20 or 30 grants you're trying to do. It helps with that thing. We're trying to do that one. We've got our credit card stuff, all the receipts. We also have one process for, and I spend over $50 on a credit card. And then invoicing, we got that going.
We track our prep payments in there, the technicians upload the invoice and who it is and what they're doing, and so that I know to look there instead of having to find them, or they forgot to give them to me or whatever, I just look on.
And you get a reminder when you got a,
Yeah, I get a reminder that they put, that
they've uploaded all
that
their stuff.
payment has been approved for payment.
Mhm.
She gets the most reminder.
And it's the same with the process of the credit cards and invoicing. We kind of separate the credit cards out from the invoicing. It's like if they have to put in whatever credit card charge, and then it goes to the team lead to approve that charge, and then it goes to the district manager to approve the charge.
And with the approval, are they just clicking an approval button, or are you getting them to sign that somehow?
No, they just click an approval button, but
Okay.
when the information is uploaded, it not only says what it is and how much it is or what it was for, but also what program to put it in, what task under that program, and if they happen to, we're putting our bars numbers in there now, so they don't have to like figure out which one is this supposed, because the team leads did these exhaustive budget. And then I'm like thinking, oh, well, that's equipment, when they actually put it under something else. So they put in there what they suggest the bars number be based upon their budgeting, so that when I'm actually inputting stuff and we do the budget, they're in the right columns. So they're not like, how come everything's here instead of down there? It's like, I had no idea where you put it.
So Dawn, are you attempting to put all invoices,
Every invoice.
every single invoice is in Smartsheet?
Yeah,
We can
and then I
go
print them
back
off
years
from
later.
there.
Right,
And then we can go back and do a search or look at what's happening, and that's been going on for the last few months, that everything's been going.
And you're
through there.
uploading the actual invoice, you're
Yeah.
scanning and uploading the
Yeah,
invoice,
it's
okay.
being
So you're not
attached.
keeping hard copies anymore.
No, we have hard copies.
Yeah,
Just
hard
have to the stubs, but everything is a hard copy backup when I pay it and everything, and I have to print out the invoice to pay it. But they upload everything so that I know exactly what needs to be paid, and there's not things that get stuck on my desk and get lost or whatever, because it's in Smartsheets and it yellows out and lines out when I pay it. When I mark off that I paid it, and I can tell them, they get notification, like if they upload cost share application or something, and we finally go to pay it, then they get notification, the manager, whoever puts it in, that the check was sent. So they are like, okay, so now I know the check went to whoever.
Gotcha.
And it allows the rest of us to, without having to go to Dawn, we can go to Smartsheets, click on that attached document, open it up, print it out, or get information off it without having to track down
You
Dawn.
get to share,
Yeah,
you share documents, yeah, Smartsheet's great for that.
Yeah,
To
we
share,
share all of our
Yeah.
budget sheets that way too, so that the managers can look at. their
Sure,
projects
sure.
that they manage.
have you guys run into like document storage issues, cloud storage issues with Smartsheet?
yeah.
have you, Corey?
No, I just
Okay, oh, you,
always anticipated that would be a problem if we started something like that.
When we first started Smartsheets, the cap was a little smaller, but they raised it in the last few years.
Okay,
We haven't run into it yet. So we're still running on a $700 plan, for 3 people. And that's all we pay out every year, because we only need essentially me and Dawn and Brandy, our district manager. Those are only 3 accounts that we actually need to edit stuff. Build forms, build all that.
Right.
They come to me, I build the form, and it works. Everyone else is a free account, and they can get in and see everything. We also do, new employee,
All the tax forms, so you don't forget all the different things that need to happen.
Like
If they get it-
checklists.
and
Yeah.
onboarding. We created that, we've got one, and we just go through it, and the new employee can go through it and say, go read this, go read that, go watch the new employee video. And all my IT setup stuff is in there as well, so I can go through and make sure everything's done. And we just create a new one for each new employee, and they can go through it, and that helped out tremendously.
Yeah, we put all the templates up there for like the travel forms and the letterhead and all that stuff. So they have a central place for them to.
Yeah,
look
on the
at
portal,
Yeah.
like an employee portal.
We also use it, it's not quite a process, but we also use it for an in-out board. So on our main dashboard is an in-out board, you can click on it and say, I'm out. This is where I'll be, this is when I'm gonna be back, I'm remote, and it changes color and all that, and that's on the initial dashboard.
We might use that, we might steal that one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're trying to figure that out now.
When I
We
set it
tried
up,
to
it
do
was
a
like,
remote one.
oh, this might not work, and then I set it up and it was like, this is easy.
Yeah,
So if you guys want it, I can
Okay.
send you a copy of it.
okay. What else? What are other people doing?
We use it for everything.
Yeah.
So we have HR portals, we have, grants, budget portals, and we have dashboard, we have project tracking.
Yeah.
We probably overuse Smartsheet.
Yeah.
And everything has web forms attached to them, you know, notifications, reminders, depending on who's there, tons of automation.
Yeah,
Kendall is like the magician of creating data and importing it into reports for everyone. She just released my HR portal for all of our staff, where it's directly linked to their personal HR stuff. So all of their benefits stuff, their leave stuff, like everything there for them specific to look at. Super, super cool. Like, the sky's kind of the limit with the Smartsheet.
yeah,
You can have the-
yeah,
I'd like to say no on that. As a database admin for the last 20 years, it is not a database. It's not a relational database.
No,
Um,
and it's not
Don't-
used as one.
Don't
It's not.
don't allow someone from Smartsheets to tell you it is. You can make it that way. But it breaks down really, really easy. And when I'm talking relational database, I'm talking table, like you have a master table and there's multiple tables all linked to that master table through an ID. And they're automated. It's all, you don't have to create a new record and link that record to something.
yeah,
all
it's
automated.
very limited. We're trying to do
Yeah.
that with our reservation systems, our poultry processing reservation system. We're trying to link our request for assistance, poultry processor, manure spreader reservations by like address or an ID. It's really limited to what it can do.
If you're gonna do something with, that needs a relational database, go with a database application, something like QuickBase or something of that sort. Because if you try to do it in Smartsheets, it'll work for a while and then things will break down and you'll spend so much time trying to make it work. And you're 2 years into it and you won't be able to go back. Very easily. So we use QuickBase for our project. Project is in landowner database kind of stuff. And it works great for that. But
No, I didn't
Smartsheets,
say that we use it as a database.
Yeah.
We use it just for, for tracking.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like you're using a lot of the portal stuff,
Yeah,
the portal
Smartsheet,
dashboard.
we use Smartsheet a lot more than we use QuickBase, but they're used for different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing we do is we put our minutes up there, and then when all the team leads have like contracts or something that need to be approved, we have the agenda on there and a little line item, they attach the stuff, we attach the financials, and then the board can log in there and pull all that information off when it's getting time for board meeting, they just get notification that
Awesome.
the agenda and all the attachments are.
Yeah,
Smartsheet
yeah.
and they can access.
We've got a board portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's time to end. Thank you guys for this discussion, this conversation, and I really would love for us to have more and share ideas and learn from each other.
Thank you, Susan.